Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Bounce Back Thursdays. Keeping in line with our ongoing Bouncing Back and Going Beyond 2020 campaign, this is a weekly talk aimed at empowering you with the information you need in helping your business bounce back from the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. The topic for this month is money recovery. Earlier, we covered the topics of money recovery related to check bounce cases, money recovery through civil and criminal proceedings. If you missed it, the links to those videos are in the description. Also, there is a Google form in the description. Now, this is for people who are having trouble with money recovery. You can enter your contact details in the form. At the end of the month, we're going to shortlist a few people and help them send legal notices to concerned parties completely free of cost. So make sure to enter your contact details in the form. Now, having said that, let's move on to the topic for this week, which is money recovery through Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. To start off, let's talk about Introduction to Insolvency and Bankruptcy Laws. Joining me today is the subject matter expert and manager for growth and strategy here at Vakilsearch, Mr. Antim Amlan. Welcome, Antim.
Hi, Ranoy. It's been great speaking about types of debt recoveries, and today we are going to speak about the most important one.
Right, and nice to see you again. So, as discussed, it's going to be 3 weeks of insolvency and bankruptcy laws, and today's topic is Introduction to Insolvency and Bankruptcy Laws. So, take it away, Antim. Let's start with the first question. In legal terms, how do you define insolvency and bankruptcy?
Okay, so I won't explain it in a very technical manner because we expect our audience to understand it in the very basic way. So, in order to explain what insolvency is, it is when any individual or corporation or any organization, for that matter, fails to meet its financial obligations for paying the debts for whatever condition or for whatever reason it may be. Okay, the debts can be operational or financial or in any form. Now, bankruptcy differs from insolvency, and basically we can say that bankruptcy is a methodology for the insolvent company to resolve its issues.
Okay.
Let's say if the debtor is unable to meet the obligations, the financial obligations, bankruptcy is the methodology in which the insolvent debtor seeks the relief.
Right. So moving on, what are the laws involved for incomes?
Yeah. To understand the laws involved, I think I'll explain in a way where we can understand the road to the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. Now, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016 is the primer of insolvency and bankruptcy laws in today's era, and the road to it was very very less effective, very cumbersome, and very complex. So the first few acts, which was in the pre-independence era, were Presidency Towns Insolvency Act 1909
Okay.
and the Provincial Insolvency Act 1920.
Okay.
So the basic differentiation between these two acts were the jurisdiction. So the Provincial Insolvency Act 1920 were for the rest of India, and under this particular act, any creditor can approach the court to file for insolvency against the debtor in any of the district courts. However, the Presidency Towns Insolvency Act was only or could only be filed in the high courts at Calcutta, Madras, and Bombay.
Right.
These being the presidency towns, of course. Now, these acts were there for the individuals. But later on, after independence, the Companies Act 1956 came into the picture, which regulated all the companies. And in some sense, the insolvency under it as well. Okay. However, the major act which was enacted to help the insolvent companies was the Sikh Industrial Companies Act of 1985. Okay. Thereafter, since a lot of public sector banks and at that time they were majorly public sector banks. I'm talking about pre-1990s era. So these banks started facing a lot of problems when they started, lending public money to all of these corporations. So a special act was enacted where debt recovery tribunals were constituted to help the banks recover money. And this particular act is called Recovery of Debt Due to Banks and Financial Institutions Act.
Okay.
Okay. But the problem again with this act was it was a bit complex and the process became too slow for the banks to recover money. And it led to a lot of, NPAs, as we say it. So then again, another act was constituted to bring out a framework of solid laws and a solid process and a procedure which helped this bank recover the dues. And this act was called Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest Act.
Okay.
Okay, and this particular act gave the groundwork and the framework for the insolvency and bankruptcy law that we see today.
So what would you say are the basics of insolvency and bankruptcy code?
Yeah, so I think it's very apt that we discuss the basics now because we'll be dealing with the detailed process and procedure in the next session, of course.
Yeah.
So the basics, let's discuss what the framework of the code is. Okay, so under the framework, there is an insolvency resolution process for individuals and partnerships and corporates and LLPs, and these processes are a bit separate and distinct. Okay, as in under this particular code, there is the provision for banks to recover from individuals and partnerships, again through the same debt recovery tribunals. But the other institutions which came into the picture under this code are the national company law tribunals.
Okay.
Okay, so there are two types of adjudicating authorities, as I can repeat. For companies and LLPs, there is this institution called National Company Law Tribunal. If you want to proceed or appeal from the decision of an NCLT, then you can move to the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal.
Okay.
Okay. Then for individuals and partnership firms, okay, if a bank wishes to recover from individuals and partnership firms, then there are debt recovery tribunals. And if you want to appeal from the debt recovery tribunals, then you can move to the debt recovery appellate tribunal.
Okay.
Now, from both the appellate tribunals, you can move to Supreme Court. So this is the institutional framework under IBC. Okay.
Fine. Yeah.
Now there are some other important features that we must understand if we are, basically understanding the IBC code 2016. A new regulator called as the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India (IBBI) was introduced to regulate any kind of the functioning of insolvency intermediaries and regulate the process of insolvency and give out the clarifications of the act and the rules that followed. Okay, and yeah, very importantly, the most important aspect of IBC code was the time bound process. Now, for the insolvency resolution, a fast track process was is given in the particular act, and this time bound process gives you resolution in 180 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm.
and this IBC code 2016 brought in a creditor control regime. What again is a creditor control regime? It's that in the insolvency resolution process, instead of breaking down the sick company and and liquidifying its assets, the creditor control regime brings in the members of the creditors or the people nominated by the creditors to take control of the sick company, okay, or the company which has gone bankrupt, and then lead or try the company to emerge and get new acquiring companies to lead the company in a better way. So that is what the insolvency and bankruptcy code deals with in its entirety.
All
Okay,
right.
and another important entities involved in IBC 2016 are the insolvency resolution professionals. Okay, so these are called IRPs. IRPs are basically certified professionals uh, who manage the entire company till from the time they are declared as insolvent till the time the company is acquired by the new promoters. Okay, so IRPs are the professionals who are basically given out this the responsibility of managing company and seeing that the acquisition process is smoothly done as per the regulations and laws.
All right. With that, we come to the end of this week's sessions. So for our audience, can you tell us what we're going to cover next week?
Yeah. So in the next week, we will discuss in detail about the processes and the procedure involved in insolvency resolution process under IBC 2016. What are the major things one has to see while filing the insolvency petition? And yeah, that's all.
All right, Antim. Sounds good. So until then, take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Renai.
Get 300 plus services. Chat and email with our team directly. Get stunning discounts and rewards. Only on Vakilsearch app. Download now.